Coming up on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, Geno Smith speaks out as he addresses a big issue that's been on the minds of Seahawk fans. We'll tell you what he had to say. Also, the Jason Peters effect. One of the newest members of the Seattle Seahawks had a breakthrough performance this past weekend. What does his future look like? Will he be staying around? We'll dive into it. Also, Leonard Williams, who has made his name known already since the trade that brought him to the Seahawks a couple weeks ago. He's already feeling right at home. We'll tell you what he had to say and go over some numbers of his impact coming up in just a matter of moments. Every game day here on Seahawks Today, we spam S in the chat for a Seahawks win. It's our rallying cry. We get people fired up. We get on our feet ready to go. We want them to hear us all the way from Lumen Field to every opposing stadium. And so what I want you to do, if you want a Seahawks win, if you're ready for a victory on Sunday, spam S in the chat. I want to see as many S's as we can for a Seahawks win, and we'll get started with today's show. Geno Smith had a nice bounce-back performance this past weekend in the win against the Washington Commanders. We told you earlier in the week how Pete Carroll said that he felt like he played nearly perfect, especially in the second half. But there's been one issue in particular that's been on the minds of Seahawk fans all season long, and that has been the turnover problem. And Geno Smith, when speaking to the media this week, acknowledged what's going on there. Listen to this. For me and maybe some other players, I feel like I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. I'm pushing myself to be the best I can be, and sometimes that gets to me. By the way, My Own Worst Enemy, incredible song. If you don't have that on your Spotify, you're missing out on that. Anyways, back to the point of this. I like that Geno understands the assignment. That's the biggest flaw in his game. It's not the arm strength issue. It's not anything like that. It's not how he is as a leader. It comes down to the turnovers. That's been the biggest issue for him, that he needs to do a better job of taking care of the football. In this past week was a step in the right direction. Now, with that said, the numbers have not been good on the turnover front so far this year. He's at 9 so far this season, and so he's averaging about 1 turnover per game. 7 of those have been from interceptions, and 2 of those have been fumbles that he's lost. So that has been a problem that he's had to deal with. But think about this, okay, as far as last week and taking steps forward, not backward. That game was the first time since week number 4 that Geno did not commit a single turnover. So hopefully it is a sign of things to come. No guarantees. But at least it looks like that it was a big building block of some sorts, potentially speaking. The last 5 games for Geno Smith, to put this all into perspective here. Touchdown-interception ratio, not that great. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Completion percentage, usually we're talking about Geno around 69 to 70%. That number is about 63% right now. So hopefully the best is yet to come, that Geno's turning a corner here, that the worst is behind him, but that remains to be seen. But at least he's acknowledging the biggest issue at hand here. Do you trust Geno? I'm very curious how the Trolls feel about that. Here we are, about to gear up for this second half of the season. Seahawks try to make this playoff push. What are you feeling right now? Give me your trust level. Y for yes, N for no. It's our pinned comment today. Weigh in. Tell me what you think. Now, when I go out with an older woman, I'm reminded that age is just a number, right? Well, in the case of Seahawks offensive lineman Jason Peters, age has been just a number for him, as he's done a really good job since getting those opportunities, in particular this past weekend with the performance that he put together against the Washington Commanders. And now you wonder, okay, what does this mean for Jason Peters going forward beyond just this past week, as he's already used up all of his practice squad elevations that are possible here? Well, let's start off with what Pete Carroll had to say about Jason Peters here. He just played a really good football game. He did a very nice job. It was obvious his best play for us, and that's why we left him in. He had planned to split the time. We liked the way he was going, so we just kind of left him out there, and we're pleased to have him out there at the end and down the stretch. There was some concern about how his endurance would be staying out there because he hadn't played a lot in the last couple of weeks. This week was a chance to see him go, and he came through in a big fashion. And did he ever? We got some numbers to show you, and we'll also talk about his potential role for this Seahawks team in a moment. But before we do, let's tell you about today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy. Here's how Prize Picks works, folks. You pick 2 or more players, and on any given category, you get the choice of more or less. Let's say you're talking passing yards, receiving yards. Maybe you want to mix up different sports, do a little NFL and NBA combo or some college football, whatever it may be. You can make some real cash on Prize Picks, and we're offering a $100 deposit bonus for first-time users at prizepicks.com/CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. If you've been playing along with us here on Seahawks Today, we have been cashing in on Prize Picks, and you better believe we're going to do so again this week. Here's how. I'm going with Kenneth Walker III to have more than 65.5 rushing yards this week against the Rams. Tyler Lockett to have more than 58.5 receiving yards this week against the Rams. And then we'll turn our attention to Monday Night Football. Isaiah Pacheco to have less than 59.5 rushing yards against the Philadelphia Eagles. I put $20 down on this. We're turning it into $100. Play along with me at home. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. So here's the impact of Jason Peters, of what he did for the Seahawks team this past weekend. In 35 pass blocking snaps, only allowed 1 pressure, no sacks, and a pass block grade of 80.8. He was really damn good. And now, as we heard from Pete Carroll say a couple days ago, that they're kind of waiting to see, as far as Abraham Lucas' status, what that means for Jason Peters. For me, the bottom line is this. There's no way, after playing that well, that Jason Peters should not be around. He needs to be on this active roster. And here's the path to get him on that active roster to stick around going forward. This is what I would look at if I'm Pete Carroll and the Seahawks here. Curtis and O'Neal, a couple guys that could go down to the practice squad. Maybe Derek Young goes back to IR after the injury he had. The wide receiver Derek Young, who just got activated a couple days ago, and he's already hurt again. You can make this work, and there is a spot for him clearly, even with Abraham Lucas a part of the equation here. It is worth having Jason Peters around, and the biggest reason why, more than anything, is it's a great insurance policy. Look, I recently switched my insurance, started saving 15% and more, and the Seahawks can start saving well beyond that. They don't need a gecko to tell you that much. And that's what Jason Peters provides. Great insurance policy for this team, whether Abraham Lucas is there or not. And with every passing day, we sit here and wonder, when's he coming back? Is he coming back? Jason Peters makes that feel a lot better. We saw that this past weekend. So, what do you think? Do you agree with me that Jason Peters needs to stick around? If so, type K for keep. If not, type D for don't. Let me know what you think in that comment section if they should keep Jason Peters or not. Mr. Will.I.Am's Leonard Williams had an outstanding performance this past weekend in his debut at Lumen Field for the Seattle Seahawks. His first time there as a member of the Seahawks, his second game with the organization. And not only did Leonard Williams play extremely well, but he felt right at home with the 12s in the great crowd on Sunday afternoon. Here's what he had to say. It was pretty electric, not going to lie. On that 2-minute drive with the defense, I had to have Bobby Wagner scream in my ear what the play was because I literally couldn't hear anything. I love the energy. I love the atmosphere here. I love the team. It was a great first home game. And when you look at what Leonard Williams did this past week, he was making plays and creating havoc out of the 3 technique in ways that didn't even show up on the stat sheet. It didn't tell the full story of the impact that he had on this game and the difference that he made for the Seattle Seahawks team. His stats this past week against Washington. 4 tackles, 1 sack, 3 hurries. His PFF grade was 62.6, but if you go back and watch the film, there was a whole lot more than just what these analytics and these numbers say. And for me, I put it this way for Leonard Williams. He is the missing piece of what this Seattle Seahawks team was looking for. As we head into this week and the Seahawks take on the Los Angeles Rams, you go back to week 1. What did we talk about? That this was a huge problem for the Seahawks of when it came to getting after the quarterback and their pass rush and the issues in the front 7 there. Leonard Williams completes this defense, and it puts this team right where they need to be to compete with San Francisco here. I think that's the impact that we're talking about with Leonard Williams. The missing piece has arrived. He's already adapting quickly, and he's only going to get better from here. Now, at the time when the trade went down, I know some of you were upset, saying, that's too much to give up a second and a fifth-round pick for a 29-year-old defensive lineman. Hindsight being 2020, I'm going to give you another chance to correct your thoughts out there if you hated the trade. Grade the trade for Leonard Williams. I think it's a solid trade. I thought so at the time. I think so now. I'm still going with about a B+, quite frankly. What do you guys think? Weigh in that comment section. Tell me what you would grade now that Leonard Williams trade, and we'll see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.